So picture this. I got pregnant to trap him, right? And then, bam, hit with child support for a baby he proved wasn't his. Like, seriously, can you even imagine? It's wild. I know. My name is Tiffany, and I'm 28. And trust me, this whole thing has been a ride. It all started, I guess, with Mark. He was fine. Not thrilling. Not terrible. Just Mark. We met through mutual friends. A pretty low-key setup at someone's apartment. Nothing fancy. He worked at some office job. The details were always a little fuzzy to me. Honestly, all I knew was he made decent money. Enough to cover his rent, his car, and still have a little left over. That was key. My job, is just a job. Pays the bills. Barely. But it's not like I'm rolling in it. So, a guy who had his stuff together. That was attractive. He was the too nice guy. Totally. Always asking if I needed anything. If I was okay. If I wanted to do this or that. Never pushed back. Just kind of went along with whatever I wanted. At first, it was sweet. Like, who doesn't want someone who just agrees with everything? It made things easy. But after a while, it was almost boring. I'd try to argue just to get a rise out of him. And he'd just nod and say, okay, babe, whatever you think. It was maddening. I remember one time I wanted to go out to eat. And he was like, oh, I was thinking we could cook tonight. Save some money. And I just looked at him, gave him my best sad puppy dog eyes. And within 5 minutes, we were on our way to that new Italian place I'd been eyeing. Easy peasy. We had been together for about 1.5 years. Nothing serious. Just together. He wanted more, obviously. He was always hinting about moving in, getting a bigger place, maybe even a ring. And I'm just like, slow down. Cowboy. I mean, he was a good catch on paper, I guess. Stable. Reliable. The kind of guy your mom wants you to bring home. But there was always something missing for me. I don't know. A spark. A little bit of danger. He was just so safe. And safe can be really boring. But then things started to shift. I started seeing how much he cared. How much he was willing to put in. He'd pay for dinners. Cover my share of groceries sometimes. Even help me out when my car needed a major repair. He just kept giving. And I was like, okay, maybe this isn't so bad after all. My friends, especially Jessica, would always say, Tiffany, he's a good one. Don't mess it up. And I'd just roll my eyes. Like, please, what do they know? They're all hung up on these terrible guys who treat them like dirt. At least Mark treated me well. Even if he was a little boring, the problem was he was getting a little too comfortable, a little too sure of himself. He started talking about our future, like it was a given when we get married, when we have kids. And I just wanted to scream. I'm not some little wifey ready to settle down and pop out babies. Not yet. Anyway, but then it hit me. What if I did want that? What if I wanted the security, the stability, the house, the family? But I wanted it now. And with Mark, it felt like it was right there, just waiting for me to say yes. So I started thinking, and I know what you're probably thinking, but hear me out. I saw this show once. Where this woman? Never mind. Anyway, the idea popped into my head. A baby? It's like the ultimate commitment, right? No one backs out of a baby. And if I had a baby with Mark, then he'd be stuck. In a good way. Like, he'd have to commit. He'd have to give me everything I wanted. It felt like a genius plan at the time. A little messed up. Maybe, but genius. So I started forgetting my birth control. Just little things here and there. A pill skipped. An oops moment. And Mark, being the oblivious sweetheart he was, never noticed. Or if he did, he never said anything. He was just happy we were, being intimate. I even brought up having kids sometimes, just to gauge his reaction. He'd light up, talking about how he wanted a little boy to play baseball with, or a little girl to spoil. It was kind of gross, how excited he got. But also, it confirmed my suspicions. He was ready, and then it happened. That little pink line. I saw it. And my heart did this weird flip-flop thing. Part panic, part pure triumph. It was real. I was actually pregnant, and it was with Mark's baby. I was so sure. I mean, we were together all the time. Right. Who else would it be? This was it. My ticket to the good life. I told Mark a week later. I made it a whole thing. Cooked his favorite meal, lit candles, put on some soft music. He came home, all tired from work, and I waited until dessert. I held up the test, trying to look teary-eyed and overwhelmed. He just stared at it for a long minute. and then his face broke into this huge grin. He picked me up and spun me around, shouting about how happy he was, how this was the best news ever. He was so excited, so genuinely thrilled. And I just smiled, letting him think he was the luckiest guy in the world. Between us, I wanted to scream because the act was tiring. Things changed immediately, of course. Mark became even more attentive, if that was even possible. He started saving every penny, talking about putting a down payment on a house, looking at bigger cars. He even started cutting back on his own expenses, which I thought was a little much, but whatever, more for us. I guess he was completely devoted. He'd wake up early to make me breakfast, even if I wasn't feeling well. He'd go out of his way to get me weird cravings, pickles and ice cream. Seriously, at all hours of the night. He was constantly asking if I was okay, if I needed anything, if I was comfortable. It was exhausting sometimes, having him hover, like I'm pregnant, not an invalid. But I played along. I let him spoil me. After all, that was the point. My friends were all super happy for us. Jessica kept saying, "See, I told you he was the one." And I just nod and smile. She was always so naive, thinking everything was sunshine and rainbows. I'd post a cute little ultrasound picture on Facebook, and everyone would be like, you guys are going to be such great parents. It was all so perfect. On the outside, anyway. But then things started to get weird. Mark, he's a planner, a real stickler for details. And he started asking about dates. Like, when did we conceive? He wanted to know the exact week to track the baby's development. All that stuff. And I just kept giving him vague answers. Oh, around this time, I think, I'm not exactly sure. It all blurs together. He kept pushing, though he'd pull out his calendar, pointing to dates, saying, but if it was then your due date would be this, not that. And I'd just get defensive. What are you? A doctor. Just trust me. I know my own body. I'd use tears to shut him down. It usually worked. He'd back off, looking guilty. Then came the first ultrasound. We went together. The doctor was showing us the little blob on the screen, and Mark was just staring, completely mesmerized. The doctor was talking about the size, the measurements, and Mark kept asking questions. Does that match up with a certain week of conception? Are you sure of the due date? And the doctor just gave him the standard answers. But I could feel Mark's eyes on me, a little too intensely, like he was trying to put pieces together. The baby was born, a little boy, and Mark was over the moon. He cried. He held him. He called his parents. He practically lived at the hospital. I mean, he was fully invested. And for a while, it was great. We were a family. He was bringing in the money. I was taking care of the baby. Mostly, he was doing a lot of the night feedings. Bless his heart, because I needed my beauty sleep. But even then, things felt off. The baby, he just didn't look like Mark. I mean, babies don't always look like their parents right away. I know. But there was something about the eyes. The shape of the nose, it just didn't match. And I could tell Mark noticed it too. He never said anything directly, but sometimes he'd just stare at the baby, and then at me, with this really strange look on his face. He'd even make little comments. Oh, he has your nose. Or he definitely got your hair color, which was true, because he had light brown hair, just like mine. And Mark had really dark hair. He was trying to convince himself, I guess. The nagging feeling never left Mark, I guess. He started being a little more distant. He'd come home from work, play with the baby for a bit, then retreat to his computer, less affectionate, less talkative. When I'd ask him what was wrong, he'd just say, nothing. I'm just tired. Or just a lot on my mind at work. I'd try to give him a hard time. Like, oh, so now your job is more important than your family. And he'd just give me this blank stare, which was annoying. Then one day, he brought it up. Tiffany, he said really calmly, which was a bad sign. He's usually yelling if he's mad. I think we need to talk. My heart started pounding. I knew what this was about. He couldn't know. Could he? I mean, I was careful. Mostly, he pulled out this envelope, and inside, it was a piece of paper. He had done a DNA test. He just went and did it, without telling me, like, who even does that? He must have taken a pacifier, or a little bit of hair from the baby. I don't know. It was all so sneaky. He looked at me, and his eyes were just empty. He's not mine. Tiffany, he said, his voice flat. The baby is not mine. My world just stopped. I mean, I knew it was a possibility, deep down, but I thought I had it all figured out. I thought he'd never know. I thought I was so smart. And now, it was all falling apart. I tried to bluster, to pretend I was offended. What are you talking about? How could you even think that? How could you betray me like this? I even started crying, trying to turn it around on him, make him feel guilty. But he just stood there, unmoving. He wasn't buying it. Not one bit. I gave you everything. Tiffany, he said, his voice a little louder now, a little bit of the pain coming through. I was so excited. I was ready to build a life with you, with our son. And you lied to me. You betrayed me. You manipulated me. He was right. Of course. But hearing him say it out loud, it just made me mad. Like, how dare he? How dare he call me out on my own stuff? I started screaming at him, telling him he was crazy, that he was imagining things, that he was just trying to get out of being a father. I even told him he was a terrible person for even thinking such a thing. After everything I'd done for him, I said things I knew would hurt him, twisting everything around, bringing up old arguments, making him feel like it was all his fault. I told him he was being dramatic. It wasn't that serious. But he didn't back down this time. He just stood there, looking at me with this hollow expression. I want a divorce. Tiffany, he said, and I want full custody of the baby, if he's not yours, and I want you to pay child support. That's when I felt my blood run cold. Child support. For a baby that wasn't even his, but he proved wasn't his. That just seemed so wrong. Like, what kind of twisted universe was this? I was supposed to trap him, not get trapped myself. The next few months were a blur of lawyers and courtrooms. It was ugly. He had all the evidence. The DNA test, texts from me being evasive about dates, even some old social media posts where I'd subtly hinted at being with other guys before we were exclusive, which he dug up. He had everything. And my lawyer, who was frankly useless, just kept shaking her head. Tiffany, this doesn't look good. I tried every trick in the book. I played the victim. I cried on the stand. I accused him of emotional abuse, of trying to control me. I even tried to make it seem like he was the one who was unfaithful, which was a total lie. But I was desperate. I tried to compare him to others to make him feel inadequate. I used his deepest fears against him, like how he was worried about being a good father. I told the judge he was being dramatic. I had a selective memory about his mistakes and conveniently forgot all of my own. I kept moving the goalposts, changing my story. It was a mess, but the judge didn't care about my tears or my excuses. They cared about the DNA, and that was irrefutable. So the ruling came down, and it was a nightmare. The baby, my son, was legally declared not Mark's, and because I had misled him, because I had intentionally hidden the truth and tried to pass off another man's child as his, the judge ordered me to pay Mark child support. Not just child support, but a significant amount for a baby that wasn't even biologically his. It was insane. It was unfair. It was karmic justice, I guess, if you're into that kind of thing. But I just saw it as a cruel twist of fate. My life, it just imploded. Mark, the too nice guy, he got everything. He got to move on. He found someone else, someone genuinely nice, someone who actually appreciated him. I saw pictures of them on Facebook, smiling, holding hands, looking genuinely happy. And they even had a baby of their own, a little girl who looked just like him. It was sickening. They looked like the perfect little family, and I was on the outside, watching it all. My friends, most of them slowly disappeared. Jessica, bless her heart. She tried to be supportive at first, but when she saw how bitter I was, how I just kept blaming Mark for everything, even after the truth came out, she just stopped calling. Everyone just kind of drifted away. My manipulative behavior, my gaslighting, my constant shifting of blame, it all came back to bite me. No one wanted to be around that. I became the topic of all the gossip sessions, the cautionary tale. My reputation was completely destroyed. People would whisper when I walked by, give me dirty looks. It was like I was a pariah. My job? Well, I was constantly stressed, distracted, calling out. My boss, who was usually pretty chill, started getting on my case. Eventually, they let me go. Said it wasn't working out. Something about performance issues and negative impact on team morale. It was total BS. I know it was because of all the drama, all the court stuff, all the baggage I was carrying. They just didn't want to deal with it. So, no job, no money, and now child support? It was a complete disaster. I ended up losing my apartment. I couldn't afford the rent anymore, not with all the financial hit. I had to move back in with my parents. At 28 years old, with no job, no money, and a child support order hanging over my head. My parents were always nagging, asking what happened, why I couldn't just be happy with Mark. Like it was that simple. They'd constantly remind me of all the things I had given up, all the opportunities I had wasted. It was unbearable. And the baby, it was hard, really hard. I mean, I loved him, Of course, he was my son. But every time I looked at him, I saw the consequences of my stupid, impulsive decisions. I saw the child support payments I had to make. I saw the life I could have had. Gone. I felt isolated. I had achieved my selfish goal of getting pregnant to trap Mark, but now I was completely alone. I'm still paying it. The child support. Every single month, it's a constant reminder of how everything went wrong. How my perfect plan backfired in the most spectacular, soul-crushing way possible. I'm bitter. Yeah. And spiteful? I don't care anymore about Mark, or his new little family, or any of those fake friends who abandoned me. They can all go to hell. I just don't understand how it all went so wrong. I mean, I just wanted a good life. You know, a little security. And now I have nothing. It's all his fault. Really, if he hadn't been so obsessed with the paternity, if he had just accepted it, none of this would have happened. He's the one who had to go digging. To find out the truth, he's the one who ruined everything. I regret how things turned out. Yeah, but I don't regret what I tried to do. I was just trying to get ahead. Everyone does it. It's just some people get caught. And I was one of them. The universe. Or karma. Or whatever you want to call it. It just decided to mess with me. It's not fair. Not fair at all. But I'm still here. And I'm still fighting. Even if it means I'm fighting alone.